what's the one piece of career advice you wish someone had given you when you were starting out?
So I think I would give you two here. I think the first thing, and you probably hear this from a lot of people that you talk to, is do something that you really love. You spend probably 50% of your waking hours in any given week working. So it's really important you do something that you really enjoy. I started my career in planning, and I hated it. Every day I went to work, I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't want to be there. It felt like a clock watch to the end of the week and counting down the times, until it was back to my time. I then moved career. I got into an industry that I love, something I'm passionate about. And for the last 20 years since I've been working in an industry that I love, every day feels fun. I've never, in 20 years, I've literally never woken up and thought, I don't want to go to work today. Always enjoyed it. And that's a real privilege. So make that decision. There's going to be something for everybody that everybody's passionate about. Make that choice. Is much more important than just doing something because you happen to have the right degree in it. You can change your mind. Just do something that you love, I would say. And the second piece of advice I think I would give in that as well is to focus on your strengths and your weaknesses. Strengths rather than your weaknesses. You have reached the point and the job that you're in typically because you've enjoyed something. Whatever you were good at school and then through uni, you probably made those choices because it was something you enjoyed and you were good at. So focus on that. It seems silly that you get into a career and then immediately you start asking what your weaknesses are and how do you improve them. You're probably not going to make a huge difference. They're the things that you naturally aren't good at. So take the things you are good at and optimize them, do them more. If your communication skills are great, go and do that a lot. Make that a really big part of your job. Or, if you're really great at negotiating, you go and make that a big part of your job. Whatever it is that you're good at, optimize it. Yeah, of course, have a little look at your weaknesses from time to time and think how you could mitigate those. But spend more time actually optimizing the things you're already good at and doing them more, I would say.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your career journey that's made a significant impact?
Yeah, I would say here, there's probably two examples I'd give, but it's about taking opportunities when they come and opening doors for yourself. So after I'd worked in planning for a couple of years, I worked as a betting journalist. It was when I was doing that job, I was writing some articles and there were some odds missing that I needed. And I rung up Sky Bet, I rung up the trading desk, and I asked them if they could provide the odds. And they said to me, we don't do that. We don't offer odds on those things. I knew that I wanted to move into odds compilation and into trading in the future. So immediately I thought at that stage, well, why don't I just offer? And I said, I could do these odds for you. I could send them in freelance for you if you think your customers would be interested in that. It was a really tiny amount of money that they paid me to do it because it wasn't something that was really on their radar. It was inconsequential, but for me it was huge because it opened the door, it opened the dialogue. And then a few months after that, a role opened up. I hadn't even seen it advertised. And I got a call back from Sky Bet, said, would you like to apply for this? And that opened the door that ended up opening a career for, the next 20 years, which, was fantastic luck. But also it was a door that I'd pushed open myself initially. And there was probably another example I would use as well. We had a senior leadership restructure a few years after I'd been with the company. 3 of our most senior leaders in the trading department were put into a consultation process that meant they had to leave the trading floor for a few weeks while that was resolved. That left a bit of a hole, and somebody needed to step up. And there was a few of us at the time that sort of stepped up, took over, in the interim, making sure that the department continued to function and that people's rotas were done, things that we hadn't previously done. But it gave a handful of us the opportunity to show that we were ready to take more senior leadership roles within that area. So again, it's a case of taking your opportunities, do the job without being asked to do, and you never know where that what doors that will open up and what progression that might lead to.
Yeah. And with you said, obviously you was working in trading, and then you put forward in journalism, and then you put forward the suggestion to Sky Bet. Have you always had that kind of attention to detail where you can see something and look at a market and where there's a miss, or do you think it was that moment and the right time?
I think it was probably a little bit of luck. I was writing about a relatively niche sport at the time, so not every bookmaker priced it up. And it just felt like an opportunity to open a dialogue with them. I would say more luck but you take that luck. You've got to open those doors when they come along. And it was by building that relationship. Relationships in the workplace are absolutely imperative. The first person I spoke to that day, actually, when I phoned up Sky, worked in the trading department at the time. Now years later, I work with that individual in product, and that's nearly 20 years later. And our relationship to the things that we've helped each other with along the way, that's just part of your career, your network. Then sometimes you see the networking sessions. I've never been big on networking sessions. I kind of network naturally, either in the workplace or just with people I meet. But if you're more comfortable going to a networking session, and that's the sort of ways that you start to build those connections, do it. If it's going to a conference, just get talking to people. It's not with any particular ending goal. It's end in mind. It's just about making sure that you've got some relationships, and that somebody might then 6 months later think, oh, I was speaking to John or Simon or whoever it is. I think that person might be somebody I want to speak to again about this particular problem or this particular job. So just build them naturally. Don't go out and make them really forced, but get out talking to people and sharing ideas, and you never know where that will come back. It almost always does end up coming back to you in a positive way.
How do you approach challenges and setbacks in your professional life? And what's your strategy for overcoming those challenges?
For me, I would say seek out trusted opinions from your colleagues who will help you see things from other perspectives. Usually when you've got a challenge or a setback, very, very often it's because people have got either different ways of approaching things, different goals, different outcomes that they want to have in mind. As a person, I'm very passionate and emotional in kind of decision making. I sort of wear my heart on my sleeve a little bit. That can be a real strength sometimes, but it can also be quite a limiting factor as well in certain situations. My last manager actually was somebody that I really trusted to help me through those things. I'd talk to him regularly about things where I've got a difference of opinion with people, and he would help me see things from different people's perspectives. He would help me come up with a strategy for how to present what I wanted in a more constructive way. So find somebody you trust, somebody that understands you as well, and be really honest with them about what you're good at, what you're bad at, and also listen to what they tell you in terms of helping you resolve them. I've been fortunate enough for the last few years. I've had a couple of people that have been really good allies in explaining to me when my perspective might not match the reality, or where my perspective might differ from somebody else's, or my approach might not work well with somebody else in terms of the ways we work together. Those sorts of things. Just be really honest with yourself and open to critiquing how you interact with people, and that sort of thing. I would say that's probably my best advice there.
Yeah, I think it's all constructive feedback, isn't it? It's looking at things from, as you say, different people's perspectives, how people interact. As individuals, we all interact different. We all take feedback differently. We all approach things differently. So having that kind of trusted member where you can speak to them and get different points of view is beneficial, especially when you're in those senior positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be small things. It could be the way you approach a presentation to bring somebody along for the journey, or the way you set up the room in terms of how maybe you've influenced somebody before you go into a meeting that they're not going to be on the phone because they don't know what you're talking to them about, and that might make it harder to land your message. Sometimes just say a word in their ear to explain, I'm presenting X, Y, and Z. This is why I think it's important. You might have them on your side before the meeting even starts, and they might be a really important ally. Whereas you go in with them unprepared, not knowing what you're presenting, it might put them on the back foot. They're into a potential confrontation with you on it, or a clashing of whether they understand where you're coming from or don't. Those sorts of things. It's really just about understanding people and altering the way that you interact with them to make a good outcome the most likely thing.